I'm here this evening with the exceptionally talented Mr. Will Guitar, Mr. Will Sherritt. How are you, bro? You okay?
Hello, I'm fine, thanks. I'm enjoying this period of nice enforced rest with my coffee, so I hope you're
Yeah.
all well.
Well, coffee makes everything better. And yeah, to be fair, mate, rest has not been going amiss with me either. But I've actually ended up, in all honesty, the first few weeks I've been busier than I've ever been. Sorting
Yeah.
out financial situation and just all the non-fun stuff. I'm nearly done with that. And I've been on the positives though. I've been training loads. I've been seeing loads of my kids, and I promise, Will. Like I've got about another week of groundwork to do work-wise, and then my guitar is getting picked up again and smashed.
Fantastic. I like to hear that. I think everyone should be doing that.
And I see you've
whether we're under this house arrest or not, we should be all playing guitar. I believe in the power of it.
Oh, mate, 100%. And obviously that's one of your main things. We're going to talk a lot about that. But
Okay.
you've been on the garden, haven't you, Will? You've been improving your man skills. We've been having these
Yes, my lockdown resolution has been to try and learn some of these proper man skills. Real men who do things like build stuff in the garden and make it look great, and all the dark arts. It just seems to happen by magic to me. So I've been figuring it as I've gone, and I think soon I'll be able to eat a Yorkie bar and not feel daring. It'll just be what I do because I'm a real man. That's if I make it work.
Yeah, I get that totally because I'm the same, mate. In some respects, I score high on real man points, and in other respects, I'm completely and utterly hopeless and lost. Like, cars, I can change a tire and do my levels, that kind of stuff. And to be honest, right, I've got quite good at diagnosing what is wrong with cars because, no word of a lie, actually, one thing that I had, in all seriousness, I used to have a horrific phobia of driving, right? For years,
oh, really?
years and years, seriously.
What caused that?
To be honest, it was a bit deeper than that, and it's something I cover on some of the other blogs. But
okay.
It was more a phobia of being
of crashing. Yes, very sensible. Sorry.
Well, no, you're not wrong, mate. More of killing somebody. I had this this sort of. I felt pretty subhuman in the past. I've struggled with my mental health in the past and things like that. Also coming on other blogs and the like. And it was more the feeling of not being worthy enough, to be honest, not being good enough. All right, which is something I'm sure that many people can relate to in many different areas of life. Obviously, that's something that has cropped up in my martial arts career and everything as well. But I largely managed to smash through that. And, likewise, the driving took me a while. It took me some hypnotherapy, some therapy sessions, and just getting out there and doing it and controlling the adrenaline and pushing through it again and again and again. And these days, I drive all over the country now, mate. I mean, my job involves a lot of travel sometimes.
How long did that? Sorry.
No,
how long did that take to conquer that? Wow.
Do you know what? I started driving lessons at 17, and I didn't end up. I sort of stopped and started going through this process. Finally passed my test at 25.
Right. Okay. And you were already cured and happy to drive at that point. You'd overcome your demons with
largely.
Wow. Okay.
Once you actually get driving and pass your test and get there, and that's when you really start to learn. It's a bit like in martial arts. When you achieve your black belt, you've got those basics, and then or music. You get competent at your chords and your scales, and then you find your own expression. So
yes.
I got there in the end. Not a lot.
Well done, man. That's a big persistence, that is.
No, thank you. That's basically how I roll. That's how I have to. Otherwise, I would not leave the house. Seriously, I would do nothing. It's all in the past now, so I can talk openly about it and quite happily about it, as I can with several aspects of my life that at times cause me huge problems. But coming back to the real man stuff, I'm still getting there with myself. But I will. Persistence will, I mean, I had to learn about, I've got off the point, but that's going to happen. That's what I want. In order to deal with my phobia, I've got a load of textbooks and I learned about the basics of cars and how an internal combustion engine works and blah, blah, blah. And don't get me wrong, right? Bar changing a tyre or checking my levels, I'm screwed. But I mean, to be fair, unless you've got a CPU in your garage these days, most people are. There's not a lot you can do because everything's computerized now.
Right. That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So to be fair, it's not even if I could, unless I was going to make a career of it, it's not really happening these days. But I get by. But I got quite good at diagnosing problems just from having so many old crap bangers. You know what I mean? And, so lots of stuff went wrong.
Great teacher.
And I was over the moon. I was one of my friends, John. He's also a competitive rally driver, and I'm hoping to have him on the channel and interview him about that because he's
okay
at a high level. But he owns the garage that I take my car to. We've been mates since primary school. But I rolled in there the other week and I was like, right, John, tell me this now. I would say this rattle is that the heat shields come loose on the exhaust. Am I right? And he was like, you are indeed right. I'm like, fuck you. I don't know.
10 points.
That's man points for you, Will, right there.
That's man points.
Car.
Yeah, you qualified as a man that day. I hope you did something, manly, scratched your genitals in public. I don't know what. I'm still learning myself, but, yeah, well done.
We'll work it out. Maybe this, I don't know, an online toolkit or guide or something that we can download. And this is probably YouTube videos. We'll have to get on it afterwards. But you've been doing the gardening, and I've been highly, highly impressed with your DIY skills, bro. I mean, they've been pretty.
Thank you. I'm not quite sure what's happened. That's the honest truth. So that seems to make sense, and it becomes a bit overbearing. Come back to it a bit later, and took me a while to saw through some wood. I thought this is stuck, and then came back with a second wind, sawed through the thing. Yes, of course. I don't know. I think on the YouTube instructional videos, it takes that man about 10 seconds. That's my whole day.
Hey, I'm right with you. I mean, to be fair, but though, by the time this lockdown's finished, you and I will be we'll be a cross between Tim Allen on Tool Time and Crocodile Dundee. It's
that's it, man.
More real manly than that, do it? You know what I mean?
Be confident. I'll just walk around and I'll just have the tools on me because that's just what I'll be doing, and I'll see that I'll fix shelves and replace people's doors. And I'll think nothing of it.
And you'll actually like it as well.
And I like it. It will upset me to see it not done correctly.
That's right, mate. Yeah.
That's what I'm aiming for.
Handiwork and making them feel insecure about their own masculinity. That's where we want to be.
That's the next level.
Is the next level. Yeah. And then I'll grow my beard out a bit, I think, because I think I need more. It's like a bit more I get some the fighting thing, obviously, quite good on the man points there.
Yeah.
And so
that's a good one.
It's a good one. Getting a positive from a negative, I've spent so much time embroiled in the various British legal systems over the last 5 years that I basically identify with being Scouse now. But it's made me very, very good at writing official letters. And I think official letters and being able to deal with the system, I think that's quite high on the man point scale.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's like taking charge, isn't it? And challenging authority. Yeah. That's manly.
I can see you liking that. I can see that being attractive. DIY. I was a building labourer. I can plaster. I can't plaster. I can patch plaster. If there's a hole in a concrete wall, I can patch it. If it's a hole in a piece of plasterboard, nah, I'm calling. I'm not lying.
See, I don't even know the difference or what that even is. So I think you've been holding out there. I think you've been a real man this whole time.
Have I got some secret man points there?
Out of me. Yeah, that's a manly. I don't even know what that. Why? Yeah, I just know plastering is something, and they sometimes call it skimming. And that's something else. I don't know.
That's the final coat. That's the final coat. You put a base coat on first, and see, it's coming already. I can feel the beard growing.
Secret man there. We knew it all along.
We better change the subject. The testosterone's too high. Right. So you are known. You're a man of many talents, right? But guitar is obviously your thing, Mr. Will Guitar.
Yes.
So you have a channel on YouTube?
Yes, I do. YouTube, youtube.com, and then there's the / Mr. Will Guitar, and you have to write out all the letters MISTERWILL, and then the word guitar. That's me on there.
It's worth it.
I've had trouble getting that. That's been a weird what do you call it, medium for me. Like Instagram, every time I've played and whenever we've been in Africa, blown up thousands and thousands. But YouTube's been a strange place. I think if you, like, I've noticed very mainstream stuff in music obviously gets a lot of views. Or if there's, you know, a certain type of music, you know, a heavy metal shredder or something like that, you know, that kind of teenage, you know, the teenagers kind of thing. That seems to, but for the sort of music I do, YouTube's been quite an elusive place to get, you know, subscribers and people watching. I think people prefer Instagram. I think that's younger, you know, more the younger teenagers perhaps. And then everywhere else, I think they probably prefer to come and watch you play than see a YouTube video. I think that's the idea I've got anyway.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm going to say how I go with this channel's going out on YouTube to start with.
Right.
We might increase it to Patreon or other things as well, or get a Facebook account.
Yes.
But I mean, one of the things I'm looking to do basically is, whether it's stuntmen, whether it's martial artists, whether it is extreme performers of various kind, or a lot of the people that I'm interviewing on here are like highly talented people with, you know, like worldwide sort of appeal and world-class skills, but not necessarily people that you will have, not necessarily household names. So I'm liking this because these are stories that need to be told. And I just went through my phone book, and this is where the whole idea from the channel was going. I was looking through my phone book and I'm like, there is some crazy talent in so many different areas here and some interesting people. And I should do something with this. That was about 2 years ago. And I've had the idea, I was going to do it of much higher quality sort of early next year. But, you know, we're, like I said, we're, you know, operating a bit punk rock, a bit 3 chords and the truth on Zoom and on my phone.
That's where all the excitement is, dude.
I love it, mate. I love it. And speaking of, you know, you're a musician. Speaking of punk, one of the other guys I've interviewed on here, Neil McLennan, Mackie, who was the bass player in Blitz, and then later on guitar player in a band called Epic Problem, I did a music video for. And Blitz were just massively, massively influential. They influenced Rancid and the Cro-Mags, and the Cro-Mags went on to influence like everyone, basically, in the sort of hard rock, heavy metal, punk, you know, vein. So, but again, you know, not necessarily a household name, but like, you can go on YouTube and you can see the Distillers or the Transplants, which was the guy from Rancid, Tim Armstrong, and Travis Barker from Blink-182. They're covering Blitz songs. It goes on like that. So it's like, this is what I like. People that are having these ripple effects in the wider world, but are maybe not as spotlighted as they should be, and that's one of the kind of vibes of the channel, really. And so there you go. So you've got a project where basically you're doing guitar arrangements with performers from all around the world to try and give them a bit of a platform. And you also put a lot of free tutorial stuff on there. So tell us a bit about that and how that came about.
Well, I mean, I've always played guitar since I was about 8. That's when I had my first, you know, classical lessons, and that was the only lessons you could have at the time. Later got into, like you say, you do your apprenticeship, you do your grades, you make sure you can do all that. I've always been curious about music, stuff that I've liked. I've just been able to follow it, and so I just managed to. I can't explain again how it's happened. Probably like with a lot of the stuff, you know, you've done yourself. You just do what feels right in the moment. One thing leads to another. Somebody knows someone, and it all seems to work. And you know, when you look back over it, you go, "Oh, that looks like a really clear path that went from rip-roaring success to rip-roaring." And oh, look at that's a great plan. But at the time, it's all quite random, or it feels that way. So I'll tend to get hired or play with a lot of people from Africa or, you know, Brazil. Different sort of music, very like a different language almost. There's nothing technically that you couldn't, you know, you'd have trouble with if you could play the instrument, but it's a different language entirely, how they hear things, how it's constructed. So I'm just lucky that I love that sort of music, and I get to play with a lot of that when it comes here. I get to go out there and tour with it too. And again, a lot of the roadblocks I had of learning that style, it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can help people get there quicker themselves. Because that's always the trick is, you know, if you're having to figure it out for yourself, there's a lot of roads you'll go down that don't work out, or again, it leads to things. If you can summarize that well, someone else can learn that steps a lot quicker. And again, you contribute to spreading the knowledge.
That's what,
that was the point.
That's what being a successful teacher is all about. It's about, you know, if you can, it's refining your art, whether it's guitar or martial arts or whatever. It's like, if I can save my students, you know, wasted hours traveling down these wrong paths and what have you, and I can stick them a little bit closer to, you know, finding their own expression, the truth for them, you know, a little bit quicker, a little bit easier. I can eliminate a bit of the guesswork for them. I mean, that's what a teacher really does, isn't it? You know, you're
I think so.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just bring people on at whatever level they're at. You know, again, a lot of the tutorials and stuff I'll do is very well based on people that would want to do the same sort of thing as myself, really. As well as that, I've had a great experience and a great sort of, I wouldn't say career, but it's like, it's a very big part of my life with the fingerstyle guitar, which is sort of putting the whole band onto the guitar. And again, really lucky, just like with the African stuff, to have met some of the greats. And again, a lot of people, like you say, that no one will ever really know unless you're into that kind of, you know, type of music. But to me, people that I'd consider the greatest guitarists ever were, you know, I've had a chance to work with and learn from. And again, so some of the stuff I've put tutorial wise is to help other people get started on their journey to that if they'd want to as well. I think it's brilliant. So I you know, to me, it's never like being at work. So it's not a chore to sort of make these videos. Arts Council also sponsored me for a series to take, you know, like the fingerstyle guitar and work with different types of music. So with a guy from Zimbabwe, really talented singer, and to put one of his African songs onto, you know, the whole band on the guitar while he sang. Kora player, Sefo, who we were supposed to tour until we all got put under house arrest. We're supposed to play next week, 20 dates. I think it'll all be rearranged because it's quite well sponsored and organised. But got to wait for things to, you know, to see where the pieces. You know, the venues will still be open. If the festival's rearranged for the autumn and we're allowed, we'll just do it all then. But that was our first working together. Yeah, I played a Kora 21-string African harp. I'm playing the guitar and trying to adapt again all the lessons I've learned into that sort of style. New for him as well. He's not used to playing with someone who does this you know, this way of playing the guitar. So, you know, both mixing it, and that's up there. And I broke that down so anyone else wanted to get started, or we can at least see what went on in my head and how I came up with the decisions I'd made. Thought process behind it as much as what, you know, the actual technicalities of doing the music. Yeah. What was the question? Sorry.
No, that's brilliant. And I was just saying, I've sort of touched on this on some of the other blogs and what have you, but when you're talking about mastery of anything, whether it's martial arts, whether it's music, and there are so many parallels we'll come back to, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But you've got two aspects. You've got the technical aspect, the scientific aspect, and then you've got the experiential aspect, the sort of the feel, the yin and the yang, if you will. Or if you've there's a wicked book by a guy called Robert Pirsig, and he breaks this stuff down, and he calls it classical and romantic instead of yin and yang. So you're classical, and this relates to our man conversation at the beginning of the right.
Maybe there's some tips we can
do this, right? So you got your classically minded people, your real men, right? Who they're like very scientifically minded. They look at everything. They see systems. They break everything down into systems upon systems. They tend to be great on the technical, the scientific, etc., etc. Then you've got your so-called romantically minded types. Now, they would be far more, they'd be sort of, if you're talking about, for instance, a car or a bike, as it is in the book, they would see the bike or the car and they wouldn't be looking at it as a technical masterpiece of system upon system. They wouldn't have a clue about that. They'd be much more sort of connected to what it represented, what they could do with it, the experience, you know, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, mastery would be like a nice gelling of the two, an intermeshing of the two. So what you were saying about, you know, you've got your technical aspects, but then you've got the thought process behind it. That's like a lovely sort of example of that kind of coming together, the two worlds, you know?
Yeah, I think both are really important because, again, I've not really done martial arts to, you know, the level you've done it. But I definitely know with music, there's a lot of technique is, you know, passed about everywhere. And I've never dismissed it, but that's, in a way, that's kind of the easiest thing to teach because it's a process. It's do this, then this, you know, the system. So, you know, no matter what you're going to play, kind of the technique stuff is the basics, and that's what, again, I always feel the bit that's lacking is what's behind it. Why sit someone down and say, you know, run these scales 20 hours a day for 10 years and then think about making music out? You know, it's like, yes, that's going to help, but it's not really the point of the music. Wasn't to do that. That was something that should help you express what you wanted to there. But if you deny that from yourself from the beginning, do you know what I mean? It's like that muscle's not getting worked.
I know exactly what you mean. And like, you know, my take on this, like, I love all types of music. My favorite, you know, I'm an undeniable, just self-confessed rock pig. Just like
Fantastic.
Fan. But I love all types of music, and my record collection's got everything from, like, you know, Muddy Waters and Miles Davis through to Slayer and Obituary and Pantera. It's pretty diverse, right? All points in between. But again, just coming back to in music, you know, or in martial arts, you get fighters or you get musicians that are not the most technically talented, but they've got the heart, they've got the feel, they've got the vibe. It comes across in spades. They might only have a limited technical ability, but what they are able to express with those three chords or just that right hand is massive, right? Yeah. And that they are some of the most entertaining artists to, you know, to watch, to experience, to be around. And then on the other hand, you know, you get guys that are absolute technical maestros, but on a martial arts side of things, you know, you can flip, kick and trick and everything else like that, and you couldn't fight your way up a paper bag. I don't want you next to me if it kicks off in the boozer, you know. And like musically, you know, they can hit all these incredible solos and stretches and blah, blah, blah. And you go, wow, for about 10, you know, for 5-10 minutes, you go, wow. And then after that, you're like, I'm bored now. I've seen the trick, and there's nothing behind it. There's no soul, there's no emotion. Why? Because you haven't lived the life, because we've clearly been sat 12 hours a day in your bedroom learning to play like that, which is great. But now you have nothing to express. So it's like, you got
that's too far in the yin or whatever of the things. But that's predominantly what you'll see the most of if you look at tutorials for anything, is always the systems, isn't it? Rather than the approach and what's behind a lot of that. I'll be honest, I kind of resisted. If you asked now I know my classical guitar teachers, and they'll always say great things, but at the time they did. I don't think I was a good student. It's like I'd be inspired by the thing on page 63 and miss out 62 pages and get that, and you'd think I was that level of player, and then some of the most basic stuff I just never even bothered with. So I had a very haphazard approach, but at the same point I kind of knew what I really wanted to do. And I think if you're committed to a lot of that, you'll kind of find your way.
At the end of the day, mate, whether you talk about developing a skill or whether you're talking about, like you were saying earlier, like forging your career, my idea is, you know, just you know what you like, you know what you love, you know the things that excite you. keep that in mind, follow that, move roughly in that direction with all the energy you've got, and it eventually works out okay in the end. That is exactly to a T how I've lived my life, mate.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that, you know, and I think it's worth being comfortable in not being. I think a lot of the time there's a lot of comfort in the technical aspects or the certainty of it, isn't there? It's very comforting, right? I do this and then I'm this level, and you can see the progression, and it feels a lot more structured, I suppose. Yeah. But all the best stuff for me has always come with me again, I don't really know. And being happy to not know. That's where all the best stuff's come from. All the best answers come from, I don't know. Let's see. What do I have to learn next? Well, we'll figure it. So, you know, I would have learned the first 62 pages in the end. But again, I hadn't kind of surrendered to the book, just done what the book tells me. But that's what I mean with a lot of, and I don't mean to dismiss any tutorials. I think some brilliant stuff. Yeah. But it's, in a way, it's kind of like the system, the approach.
Robotic.
I kind of want to know what's behind it.
It's robotic.
Yeah, but it's also necessary, and some people do learn that way.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have your systems. I've talked about this. Do you know why we keep coming back? Because there are so many common threads just in life. Full stop.
Fantastic.
You need your systems in life because your systems are your map, your reference points. Language is systemic, right? I wouldn't want to try and get by without language. So how can I convey anything to anybody without some kind of set of reference points? Okay, there's your system. Now, a good system is based on experiential knowledge, you know, if you're lucky and your instructor's got a bit about them, whether it's martial arts, music, or whatever, they've sort of been there and they've trod the boards a bit, you know, and when they teach, you know, every teacher teaches differently. Every teacher has a different interpretation on this one sort of universal truth. I've said this with Lee Charles. I was doing an interview with him the other day. We were talking about going to seminars and things, and you can go to 10 different seminars with 10 different guys, and it's got to be. I know it's the same in music. I'm not so much a musician as a functional alcoholic who happens to own a guitar, but I love it.
There's no difference.
Right, but I love it, and I follow enough little bits here and there, and I having got mastery over one thing in my life, which is martial arts, I can at least apply the concepts and see how those concepts do apply to sort of, well, everything else. Do you know what I mean? And you can, like I say, you can go and get effectively the same basic technique taught by 10 different people, and you will come away with 10 different things if they have quality. Now, in all systems, you get your people that are detached and just really not that great and a little bit out there and don't have a lot of credibility. They don't really, you know, they might know, like you say, they might have the information, but they certainly don't have the hands-on ability. They just, you know, as I said, this is where you get that blend between the individual and the system. And ultimately, it is always the individual that makes the art of the system, not the other way around, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. I mean, all the great musicians are the ones that then get studied